Hey everybody, it's Nick. Oh man, crazy session, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of role-playing, negotiations, factions, very cool exploration, a lot of crazy stuff happened, looking forward to sharing with you. When last we left our heroes. So after the players had made their castle safe for a colony, their priority number one was to make the surrounding area safe. And so the first thing on their list for that was this strange, blue, mysterious, magical fog that imparted varying forms of madness on whoever had come into contact with it if they failed a saving throw. And so they decided, well, let's see what's at the center of that creepy Tootsie Pop. And indeed they did discover at the center of it there was a tower of bodies of zombies that was actually literally growing. And so after incredibly quickly advancing in the opposite direction, they formulated a plan. And their plan was talk to the whole thing. And so they did. They took an incredibly standard 5-room hack and slash necromancer kind of a dungeon, and they made the whole thing one big role-playing encounter. It was actually really, really interesting for me as a DM. It was a cool moment where I got to think on my feet and kind of change things up, and they had fun with it as players. They talked about that a lot during the week and even afterwards about how it was so cool that it wasn't just a video game where there were enemies, you had to attack them, the end, that you could ally with people who were enemies and have conversations with things instead of just attacking them. They really loved that, and so do I. It was really cool. So they ended up negotiating with this necromancer who took them to his boss, who was a beholder in the Underdark. Pretty crazy stuff. And that's where we started this session. So they started staring face to face at a beholder, and it was very interesting playing this beholder. I had a lot of fun role-playing the beholder. I tried my best to not use my hands at all. You guys know from watching this channel, if you do that, I talk with my hands a lot. It's very helpful. And so what I was trying to do with this beholder was just talk, like just be evoking a lot of emotion with only my head, because that's all a beholder has. And obviously they have, you know, the eye stalk tentacle things, and you could portray a lot of emotion with that, but I thought it'd be neat to just use my head. I think if you're not a professional voice actor, which I am not, then sometimes it can be hard to bust out a flawless accent to distinguish different NPCs really effectively. And so a lot of times you don't need that. If you can't bust out 37 flawless accents, that's fine, because body language and tone of voice and word choice and inflection and intonation and all those things can do a lot to convey who a character is, sometimes even more so than just, you know, a French accent. Congratulations. So I tried to really lean into that and not talk with my hands at all. I was just using my head and speaking largely with my mouth. And it was very fun, actually. And so that was the interaction with the players, with the beholder. I have also been playing a lot of the board game Diplomacy online, actually. And Matt Colville has a video that I will link to below, where he talks about diplomacy and its interaction with D&D and politics and negotiation and things like that. But playing the game of Diplomacy a lot recently has really shaped how I think about negotiations, and especially over power and leverage and things like that. And it has really informed some discussions, and that played out over the course of the discussions with the beholder. So I'm in that kind of diplomacy mindset, right? And the players very quickly lay out exactly what they wanted. They wanted the fog gone, or at least reduced, or at the very minimum some kind of clear demarcation of you stay over there, we'll stay over here, we won't bother each other as long as we can be cool. And the beholder reveals that they are at war with the Illithid, led by their elder brain, and they were only forced to retreat up to the surface because the Illithid had taken over various subterranean strongholds and forced the beholder out. The beholder was then looking for power and went to the surface to gather more resources and power and the like. Again, very diplomacy-esque stuff. And so what the players could do if they wanted the beholder to retreat from the surface is assist the beholder in their war against the Illithid. And there were a couple ways that the beholder proposed that the players do this. And there were certain things that the beholder wanted, and he said, if you will serve in my forces and help me regain control over those lost strongholds, I would happily leave the surface alone. The players were not super keen on, like, let's just fight for this beholder and be part of his army and be stuck in the Underdark for forever. So instead, the players were offered by the beholder to go and get me this powerful artifact, something called the Codex Mortis, the Book of the Dead. And if you're familiar with Matt Colville and Strongholds and Followers, congratulations, you already know what this item is. If you don't, kind of does what it says right on the tin. It's the Book of the Dead. It's the Codex Mortis. And the beholder then informed them that the Codex Mortis was likely being kept near the city of Volta. And the players were like, oh, dope, we already plan on going to Volta. Sweet, let's do that one. Option B. Option not serve in your army, beholder. That's really creepy. And so they chose to then say, excellent, great, let's draw up a contract. The players actually proposed writing up a contract with terms and everything, and everyone signed it. I thought that was really neat. And so they gave themselves 2 months to go and retrieve the Codex Mortis and bring it back here, give it to the beholder. No big deal. Now it's free. Now they get their stuff back. At which point the beholder will leave their territory, and no big deal, no harm, no foul. The beholder is going to be in subterranean areas. The players get the surface. Congratulations. And in the meantime, to show good faith, the beholder dispelled the magical fog. No more, no big deal, so that the players wouldn't have to worry about it. And it was sort of like, I'll give you a little bit if you are willing to go get the book for me. The beholder's keeping the tower for the time being. And the players can then have the tower afterwards if they want it. That would be really weird, but let's go for it. And so the players were cool with this. They were like, that went about 8 times better than we thought it possibly could. So great, we're gonna sign this contract. Let's leave post haste and go to Volta, like we were kind of planning on, like our crew really wants to because they're tired of being out here in the middle of nowhere, understandably so. So they go back up to the surface and they find that the magical fog is indeed dispelled. It is no longer creepy and blue and magical, and no problems with it. And they make their way back to the castle, tell all the crew, pack up, we're going to go to Volta. Everybody's excited. And in this process, they've got their blue dragon egg that they're looking at, and they're trying to figure out, do we take it with us? Maybe we'll sell it. Do we want to leave it here? What purpose does it serve here? What are we going to do with it? And in the middle of that, it starts to move. Hasn't done this before. It starts to wiggle and shake a little bit, and in front of them I describe as it hatches. And they're like, holy crap, that's so cool! And then Matt, one of the players, begins to describe how the little baby hatchling dragon is reacting to the players. This is Matt's new character. A while back, months ago, he saw something on Reddit where somebody had posted a dragon race class combo, and the idea got him started for making one of his own, and this was after they had captured this blue dragon egg. And he talked to me and was like, hey, would it be cool if I made a class with, the DM supervision, made a race class kind of combo thing and played that as a character? That would be super cool. And I was like, yeah, if everybody else in the group is fine with it, we don't want people to feel overshadowed like, hey, how come he's a dragon? I just am an elf. Then if everybody else is cool with it, yeah, go for it. Play a dragon. That sounds awesome. And everyone in the group was thrilled. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. They were like, we get to travel with a dragon. We have like a little pet dragon. It's so cool. So they were all really excited to have a dragon. So he's been working up rules for that. I've been sort of overseeing and helping with revising in that process. And as soon as they're semi-presentable, I can post them online. You guys can tell me how much you hate it. That's fine. No big deal. So anyway, now Orar is an NPC under my control, and Matt is playing this dragon. And the group all piles up on the ship and gets ready to set sail when they see another ship approaching with flying colors that they don't recognize and a white flag of truce or parley. And so the players go, oh boy, here we go, another thing. So as the ship gets closer, they meet, and the captain from the other ship comes aboard with several crew members, and they ask to speak to the Gunslinger, and Travis steps forward. And then this captain starts going into talking about all these people and saying, hey, the Dread Admiral, he's talking about the Dread Admiral, whoever that is, and saying the Dread Admiral tires of your silence and he wants an answer. And everybody's like, whoa, hang on. What is going on? But Travis seems to know what is going on. I almost titled this episode, Oh Faction My Faction, because puns and poems. But puns and poems, that's cool. Anyways, there's so many like factions and things happening in this one episode. There's so many lore, so much things kind of being revealed that this is just one of them. And Travis apparently knows what's going on. He's talked to these people before by his conversation with them, and as it sort of comes out, the Dread Admiral and this captain are part of something called the Realm of Liberty, and the Gunslinger, Travis, has been communicating back and forth with them, and it seems like they are not at all intent on Krell sending a colony out to these free waters, and they want them to be left free for everyone, and the players are kind of confused by what's going on, and it was a very interesting moment of one player actually knew what was happening because he had in secret gotten a message from the Dread Admiral and was communicating back and forth as Lord of the castle on the island of Wanale. And so it was a lot of faction reveal things happening, and the players were very confused, but Travis kind of knew what was happening. The players grilled Travis for information in the middle of that conversation. So Travis responding to this captain and the party grilling Travis for information about what's happening. It was a lot of back and forth at the same time. It was very interesting for me to kind of sit back and watch what was happening and then poke it with a stick every now and again with that captain. It was really fun. So what played out is that Travis was sort of interested in staying neutral. He did not want to piss off the people who were from the Realm of Liberty, but he didn't really want to back down on saying, hey, we're going to bring a colony here. So it's pretty evident, and this was the beginning of the players seeing my central tension in this campaign setting, is that the people in this area, this region, don't want a colony here. They want to be left as tribes and free people. Most of these tribes originated from leaving the main continent and coming here because it was free. And now the main continent is sending a colony here, and the people here don't like that. But also that's the player's mission, and also isn't a colony a good thing? There's rules and law and civilization. Isn't that nice? But also freedom is good. And so there's a lot of this tension and conflict the players are starting to realize, and I don't know where they're going to side just yet. For the time being, it feels a little bit like they are Krell's mercenaries and saying, hey, that's the mission, we're just going to set up a colony here, no big deal. So we'll see what they actually kind of start to come down on the side of. I just want to present it in front of them. I don't care which side they pick. I just think it's an interesting conversation. And so we'll see how they interface with various parties going forward as there may be more and more of this tension coming up. So it was sort of left with the players saying, hey, we'll leave you alone, you leave us alone, don't worry about our colony, it's not going to bother you. And the pirates left saying, we'll see what happens. So that didn't exactly bode well, but they were like, we're on a timetable, we have 2 months, we got to deal with this beholder. As they're sailing around the island, they go in a direction they haven't gone before, at which point they start to individually in their minds hear these whispers and temptations and sparkings of jealousy, and the players basically say, oh gosh, another thing. And these voices sort of all tell them to, if they want to see real power and be treated as treasured and honored guests, they should find Tehuan. It sort of leaves them with that. And the players go, okay, that sounds interesting, maybe, I don't know, but it's not an immediate threat, so we have other things to do. And they just push past it. And I like introducing things like that to the players and saying, hey, here's the thing. You don't have to deal with it. And the players go, okay, I guess we won't deal with it then, and they go off and do the thing they were planning on dealing with, and whatever happens to the first thing happens. Who knows? So that was fun. Then they spend their 2 weeks traveling to the city of Volta. Not much happened over those 2 weeks. They tried to choose as many safe waters as they could, and they managed to. And over this time, the dragon grew up a little bit, and sort of that, I described that as the process. They were a little surprised, but holy crap, this baby dragon was hatched 5 minutes ago, and now it's the same as our 7th level characters. And I was like, well, no, that doesn't make sense. But it's probably like 1st or 2nd level at this point, you know, as a dragon, as it's hatching. But over the course of that 2-week journey, any little minor skirmishes that would be no big deal for 7th level characters would be a lot of experience for a 2nd level character. And as it's off hunting and, you know, it's killing sharks and eating them and things like that, over that 2 weeks it would level up to the point in time at which it would be 7th level along with the player. So that was sort of my narrative way of justifying how it caught up in levels by the time they actually got to the action. So we mostly fast forwarded that travel, but it was an interesting way to describe the dragon catching up. So before arriving in the city of Volta, they managed to impress upon the dragon how dangerous it would be if anyone in the city of Volta saw the dragon, and they're trying to figure out how do we, like, because the dragon, they're trying to teach it common, and it's a very slow process over these couple of weeks. It's only been 2 weeks, and so it sort of seems like it's understanding, but it hasn't replied yet. It hasn't spoken at all, even to the end of this session. It hasn't spoken, and so the players are trying to, how do we impress upon this dragon? Don't get seen. You cannot get seen. If you do, you will get killed. And so, in the middle of this conversation, the dragon seems to understand. Okay, sure, and then like shape changes itself down into a very large wolf dog Siberian husky thing that has blue tinges in its fur, and the player's like, oh yeah, that works. So they arrive in the city of Volta, and they're greeted by this homeless guy who comes up and is like, hey, I'm looking for anything. Can I have work on your ship? I can do a deckhand. I used to be a city guardsman, so maybe I could act as a sort of a defender on your ship if any pirates attack. Like I'm useful with a sword. I could learn quickly for ropes. I'm really down on my luck, and they then go in to describe how some scumbag had, while this guard was on watch, this guard who introduced himself as Lionel, he was on watch at the arena, and this scumbag had stolen from the arena and then went and spread a lie that the guard was behind the whole thing, and it had gotten him fired, and his wife and daughter left him, and he had nothing here in the city and was homeless and just begging for work and food. And the players put together that this was the guard who had attacked Callister way back in like our 3rd or 4th session. And it's okay if you didn't make that connection. The players, it took them a long time to start to put together, wait a second, is this that guy? And it was one of those things where I just kind of made a note. If the players ever go back to Volta, this guard is now homeless because this thing happened. And it was so cool for the players to see, oh my goodness, our actions have consequences and they ripple and all kinds of stuff. So they thought that was super neat. They hired this guy onto their ship and did not mention Callister and who they were affiliated with, because he's gone and dead. Don't worry about bringing him up again. But it was just a really neat moment in the game to sort of show the players that actions can have far-reaching consequences. So after getting their ship docked and paying the portmaster and all the things they needed, tedium, we had a big like exploration and shopping session. And so players went to go get magic items. They had a bunch of gold they wanted to spend. Tico and Clement went to talk to Gloria, the woman who had asked them to go and gather demographic information on everyone in the colonies in exchange for magic items. She basically said she's from like a census-taking kind of institution, and if they bring back census data she can't gather herself because she's so old and frail, then she'll give them magic items. They haven't really questioned if this is weird at all, and I'm not going to tell them if it is or it's not, but it could be totally benign as like a, hey, just go and meet different people and you get cool magic items. Could be something else. We'll see. So they spent a lot of time getting magic items, exploring around, and also Travis went to various clerics and temples and tried to figure out how you could resurrect somebody. And he started to piece together that if you wanted to resurrect somebody, you really needed like their body. But if you had just like something little, like a foot, like he had recovered from Callister's body, then it would be very, very difficult. There was only one person in the city who even claimed to be capable of doing such a thing, and it was a cleric at the small, secluded church or temple of Vecna. And that was a super creepy encounter, very, very fun, and Travis sort of realized it would be incredibly expensive to resurrect his fallen ally, and it would be very difficult. He's not given up on it just yet, but he thought it'd be pretty tough. I won't say the ship has sailed on it. I've told him that it is definitely possible, but didn't want to say how or how easily or if they need to devote themselves to it. So we'll see if Callister ever comes back. That would be nuts, but for now, no more Callister. So during their exploration discussion, they learn that there is a mage who has a large mysterious tower just outside of town, and they figure this is a good place to go look for a Codex Mortis, a mysterious secluded mage. That sounds good to me. And so they leave the city and they go together to this tower, and it's a wizardy tower that wizards all over the wizarding place. And so it was a very straight up kind of description of that. And the players interacted with this wizard, and they learn a great many things in their conversations with this wizard. So first off, he claims to be thousands of years old. He's an elf who claims near immortality, and he's the guardian of many powerful magical artifacts, one of which is the Codex Mortis. Wow, jackpot, first try. So the players basically say who they are and reveal their whole situation to this guy, trusting him pretty completely and saying, you know, we were trying to look for the Codex to give it to this beholder, but we feel like you are probably a better guardian of it. Well, I wonder if you could, like, give us something to help with this beholder. And at this point, the mage reveals that they no longer have the Codex Mortis. In fact, it has been stolen. And because of the wards and defenses that this mage has, it is likely that it was stolen by undead. And at this point, the mage starts to reveal that the island of New Andrast, which the players are very familiar with, Zombieland, and they have this island, and it had gone silent for a long time. Until it didn't go silent anymore. Recently, in the last several weeks, ships have been showing up that had full manned crews of just undead, wights and zombies and ghouls and the like, and the mage said that they had showed up and were trying to deal with Volta as if it was no big deal, and it had established through intimidation and fear many of the old trade lines that they had agreed to with Volta. And it was sometime shortly after these vessels started showing up that the Codex Mortis had gone missing. And this mage reveals that, as the players know, there is a vampire ruling now on the colony, the city island of New Andrast, and calling herself the Dead Lady. And he believes she has stolen the book for some purpose or another, and that if the players will go to New Andrast, capture the book, bring it back to the mage will give them items and artifacts that will allow them to defeat the beholder. Again, factions all over the place, a lot of information. We didn't have a single combat encounter this whole session, and we played for like 4.5 hours. It was just conversations, role-playing, negotiation. It was a lot of fun. We're itching for combat coming up. Don't worry, that'll happen. But this was really cool for a lot of conversations. But now the players are starting to think. They're starting to realize, okay, if we get this thing and give it to this person, this outcome could happen, but if we give it to this person, this other outcome could happen. How do we want to give the beholder power? Because maybe they'll use it and defeat the Illithid and then turn on us. But if we give the mage power, then can we really defeat this beholder? Well, what if we leave the book in New Andrast with this vampire person? What if that's the best place for it? What if we took it? What if we kept it? What if we used it? So the players are starting to realize they have a lot of different options here, and who they side with and what they do will have far-reaching consequences, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how they choose, what they choose, how they go about their choices. Should be a lot of fun. However, this coming session is going to be them sneaking aboard, or ashore, it's not a ship, it's an island, sneaking ashore the island of New Andrast and trying to sneak their way into a vampire queen's lair to steal a powerful artifact, a Book of Dead things and stuff. Book of the Undead? Book of the Dead? Book of the Dead. Something like that. Who knows? Anyways, so they're trying to go do that. I'm looking forward to a lot of combat. It probably will be that. Hopefully someone gets bitten by a vampire. That would be awesome. Super looking forward to that possibility as well. So anyways, we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.